The bustling terminal lights cast a sterile glow across the airport, reflecting off the glass panels as if mocking the girl who dragged her suitcase with trembling hands. Her face was pale, lips trembling, and eyes swollen from hours of crying. She walked quickly, but not with the confidence of someone ready to take flight toward a new beginning. Hers was the pace of a person running from something she could no longer bear. Her name was Elena Ward, and she had been left broken. Only 12 hours earlier, Elena had been standing at the altar, wearing a gown she had dreamed about since childhood. Her hands had been clasped tightly around the bouquet of white roses, her eyes scanning the church door for the man who promised her forever. But forever never came. The whispers had grown louder, the guests restless, until one of his friends stepped forward, pale and uncomfortable, and whispered words Elena's soul would never forget. "He isn't coming." The words had struck her harder than any physical blow. And while her family tried to shield her, while her friends tried to soothe her embarrassment, Elena knew she could no longer stay in the city where pity would follow her every step. She booked the first available flight out, her only plan, escape. As she reached the check-in counter, her phone buzzed again. She didn't have to look to know it was her mother. She had ignored the past dozen calls. The weight of sympathy was unbearable, and Elena wasn't ready for forgiveness or lectures. She only wanted silence, distance, freedom, even if it meant running blindly. But airports have a strange way of being crossroads, places where lives collide in unexpected ways. As Elena handed over her passport, she felt a strange gaze on her. A man, tall and sharply dressed in a tailored charcoal suit, stood several feet away, his phone pressed to his ear. His posture was commanding, the kind that drew attention without trying. His eyes, however, were fixed on her. At first, she dismissed it. She was in no state to imagine anyone noticing her. Her makeup smudged, her gown exchanged for a wrinkled sweater and jeans, her dignity left shattered at the altar. But when she moved toward the security line, she felt it again, that gaze, unwavering, intense. The man ended his call, tucked his phone into his pocket, and with purposeful steps, walked toward her. Elena's heart skipped. Fear, curiosity. She didn't know. "Miss Ward?" he asked, his voice deep and steady. Her eyes widened. "Do I know you?" "You don't," he admitted, his lips curving into something between a smile and a frown. "But I know you." Confusion clouded her already fragile mind. "Excuse me." The man adjusted his cufflinks, as if buying time. Then he leaned closer, his words low but precise. "My name is Adrian Blackwell." The name struck a faint chord in Elena's memory. Blackwell, the billionaire investor whose face occasionally appeared on magazine covers. The man who turned bankrupt companies into gold. The kind of man people whispered about in hushed tones because his presence alone was almost myth. Elena blinked, trying to piece the puzzle together. "I don't understand." "You weren't supposed to," Adrian said gently, almost apologetically. "But I was there today." Her blood froze. "At the church?" He nodded once. "I was a guest. A distant acquaintance of your fiancé." The last word was heavy with disdain. The world tilted. The humiliation she tried to outrun suddenly felt sharper, as though the universe refused to let her bury it. She backed away, her voice breaking. "I don't want pity from strangers. Not from anyone." Adrian's gaze softened. "I'm not offering pity. I'm offering truth." The way he said it made her falter. "What truth?" He glanced around, his eyes flicking to the crowd before returning to hers. "Not here. Not in front of everyone. But if you board that plane, you'll be running blind. And you deserve to know why he didn't show up." Her breath caught. The question that had been gnawing at her, the wound that would never close, why? But another part of her screamed not to listen. This was madness. A stranger claiming to know the deepest pain of her life. A billionaire who could have any stage, any story, why hers? She shook her head, clutching the handle of her suitcase tighter. "I don't need answers. I just need to leave." Adrian's jaw clenched, his voice low but urgent. "He didn't run because he stopped loving you. He ran because he was forced to." Her entire body stilled. "What did you say?" she whispered. Adrian's eyes held hers with an intensity that rooted her to the floor. "It wasn't his choice, Elena. And you're in danger too, if you don't understand what's happening." A cold shiver crawled down her spine. Danger. The word echoed in her head. The airport speaker announced boarding for her flight, the final call. Her ticket trembled in her hand. One path was escape into the unknown, the other was listening to a stranger who carried secrets about her broken world. She glanced toward the gate, then back at Adrian. His presence was magnetic, unnerving. And yet, for the first time in hours, her tears paused. Her voice came out hoarse. "Why should I trust you?" Adrian leaned closer, his tone stripped of charm, carrying only raw conviction. "Because if you don't, you may never get another chance to find out the truth. About him, about yourself, and about the deal that was made to keep you apart." Alina's grip loosened on her ticket, her heart hammering so loudly she thought the entire terminal could hear it. She was caught between two worlds, one of heartbreak she could flee, and one of shadows she didn't understand. And for the first time, a flicker of something other than despair stirred inside her. Suspicion, hope, fear. The flight attendant's voice cut through the chaos. "Final boarding for Flight 714. Adrian's eyes burned into hers. "Decide, Elena, run from this, or walk with me into the truth." She stood frozen, her suitcase by her side, as the last passengers hurried past. The decision hung heavy in the sterile air, the future waiting to twist in whichever direction she chose. And though her body screamed to run, her heart whispered that her story wasn't over, not yet. Alina's fingers trembled around the boarding pass as the gate attendant gave her a questioning look. She could step forward and disappear into the safe anonymity of a plane seat, leaving behind the humiliation and confusion. Or she could turn and follow the man who claimed to know everything she wasn't ready to hear. Her feet made the decision before her mind did. She turned to Adrian Blackwell. The gate closed behind her with a final click, the sound like the shutting of one door and the opening of another. Adrian's lips curved, not in triumph, but in quiet acknowledgement. "Good. You chose the harder path. That means you're stronger than you realize." Elena swallowed hard. "You'd better start talking." They moved away from the crowds, past the glass walls overlooking the runways, until they found a quiet lounge. Adrian gestured for her to sit. She hesitated but lowered herself into the leather chair, her suitcase like a shield at her side. Adrian remained standing, his presence filling the space. "Your fiancé, Daniel, he didn't leave because he stopped loving you." "Then why?" The question ripped from her throat. "Because his family owed people, dangerous people, a debt they couldn't repay. The kind of debt that doesn't vanish with money alone." Alina's pulse quickened. "That doesn't make sense. His family is wealthy. Old money." Adrian's expression darkened. "Old money doesn't mean safe money. They got involved with a syndicate. And when the time came to collect, the price wasn't numbers in a ledger. It was leverage. They told Daniel he couldn't marry you." Her chest tightened painfully. "Why me? I have nothing. I'm just me." Adrian's eyes softened. "That's where you're wrong. You're not just anyone. Your father, before he passed, worked on projects tied to companies I now control. He left behind more than you realize. The syndicate knew that marrying you would tie Daniel's family to something bigger than they could control. They threatened him, and you." Alina's heart thudded in her ears. Her father had been an engineer, brilliant but modest, always working late nights. She never imagined his work could hold secrets worth fighting over. Her voice cracked. "So Daniel left me, to protect me." Adrian's jaw tightened. "That's what he believed. But running was cowardice. And it left you shattered." She looked away, blinking back tears. "You speak like you know all the answers. Why do you even care?" Adrian stepped closer, his shadow falling over her. "Because I've spent years fighting the same enemies. And because I was there today. I watched you standing at that altar, abandoned, humiliated, and something in me refused to let it end there." Alina's breath caught. There was something raw in his tone, something unguarded that didn't belong to the calculated billionaire the world admired from a distance. Still, her voice shook with suspicion. "So what now? You swoop in, tell me I'm in danger, and expect me to trust you." Adrian crouched slightly so their eyes were level. His words were low, urgent. "I don't expect you to trust me. I expect you to decide if you want the truth. Because the people who silenced Daniel won't stop here. They'll come for you if they think you hold even a fragment of your father's work. Staying ignorant won't protect you." Silence hung between them, heavy as stone. Finally, Elena whispered, "What choice do I have?" Adrian straightened. "You can stay by my side. I have resources to protect you, and to uncover the full story. But it won't be easy. And it won't be safe. Her heart twisted. A day ago, she had dreamed of a peaceful future, a home filled with love. Now, she was being asked to step into a world of shadows, with a stranger who carried both menace and magnetism. She rose slowly, meeting his gaze. Then show me the truth. The following days unfolded like scenes from a film Elena had never auditioned for. Adrian whisked her away from the city in a sleek black car, then into a penthouse overlooking the skyline. The suite was glass and steel, but hidden beneath the elegance were layers of security. Guards who blended into the background, encrypted phones, files stacked with meticulous precision. Adrian worked late into the night, speaking with contacts across the globe, piecing together the syndicate's movements. Elena wandered through the vast space, feeling like an intruder in a life too sharp, too calculated. But Adrian wasn't all steel. Sometimes, when he thought she wasn't watching, she caught glimpses of something else. Loneliness etched in the lines around his eyes, a man carrying too much weight. And slowly, against her will, she found herself drawn to him. One evening, as rain streaked the glass windows, Adrian entered the living room with a file in hand. His expression was grim. I found something. Elena's pulse jumped. What is it? He laid the file on the table. Inside were photographs. Her father, standing beside men she didn't recognize. Diagrams, coded documents, dates. What is all this? She whispered. Your father wasn't just an engineer. He designed a prototype. Clean energy technology, years ahead of its time. If developed, it could collapse entire industries. Powerful people wanted it suppressed. Others wanted it controlled. That's why Daniel was forced to walk away. And that's why they'll come for you. Elena's chest tightened. But I don't know anything about it. I was just his daughter. I didn't even know this existed. Adrian's voice was steady. Sometimes legacy isn't about what you know, it's about who you are. You're the last thread to your father's work. That makes you valuable and vulnerable. Tears stung her eyes. So I've lost everything because of something I didn't even choose. Adrian's expression softened. Not everything. Their eyes locked, and for a moment, the world outside the glass walls faded. He reached out, his hand hovering before brushing against hers. It was the gentlest of touches, but it burned with an intensity that unsettled her. Elena, he said quietly, I can protect you. But more than that, I don't want to stand aside anymore. Watching you at that altar, I realized I don't want to be the man who only observes. I want to be the man who stands beside you. Her breath caught, her heart tumbling into dangerous territory. What are you saying? Adrian's voice dropped to a whisper. I'm saying, marry me. The words struck like lightning. Her mind whirled. This man, powerful, enigmatic, stranger and savior all at once, was offering her what she had lost only days before. But it wasn't just an offer of marriage. It was an alliance, a shield, a leap into a world she barely understood. Tears welled in her eyes. You don't even know me. Adrian's gaze burned into hers. I know enough. I know you're stronger than the pain that tried to break you. I know you have fire in you, even when you think you're only ashes. And I know I don't want to let you face this alone. The room fell silent but for the rain. Elena's heart warred with her mind. Was this madness, or was this destiny, pulling her toward a life she never expected? Finally, she whispered, if I say yes, what happens then? Adrian's lips curved, not in triumph, but in solemn promise. Then we stop running. We fight. Together. The days that followed blurred into chaos. The syndicate moved closer, threatening whispers turning into tangible shadows. But Adrian never wavered, and Elena, to her surprise, found courage she didn't know she had. They stood side by side, uncovering the last pieces of her father's legacy, exposing the men who had tried to bury it. And though danger pressed in, something stronger grew between them, an unspoken bond forged in fire and trust. One evening, as the city lights flickered below, Elena stood with Adrian on the balcony. The storm had passed, the night air cool against her skin. She looked at him, this man who had turned her shattered world into something both terrifying and breathtaking. I never thought I'd be here, she whispered. Adrian's hand slipped into hers, warm and steady. Neither did I. But sometimes the broken road leads to the only place we were meant to be. And for the first time since the church doors had remained closed, Elena felt whole again. Not because she had been rescued, but because she had chosen not to run anymore. And because a man who had once been a stranger now stood beside her, not just as protector, but as the unexpected love she had never dared to dream.